In this week's drive, we watch the impossible, performed by the incredible, see a British-American car, a British Racing Green car, an all-French car, the Champions car, and an unusual way of ending the journey. All this and more in this week's Drive. The 2004 Middle East Rally Championship kicked off with the United Arab Emirates International event. The reigning champion Nasser Saleh Al Attiyah, with co-driver Steve Lancaster, was expecting a tough challenge, with a number of pretenders threatening his dominance, and some critics claiming that he would suffer after his favoured Subaru WRC car was banned from the Middle East Championship at the end of last season. The UAE's Sheikh Khalid Al Qasimi, driving an identical Group N Subaru, was the only driver to come close to Al Attiyah during the three-day, 810-kilometre rally. Desert racing conditions impose special strains on men and machines. Fine sand rips into machinery and hides surface details. And the featureless desert requires a special ability from both driver and navigator at high speed. Being anywhere except first on the course added the hazard of floating clouds of dust for following crews. Amjad Farah inherited third place when Abdulaziz Al-Kawari was penalised 15 minutes. Al Attiyah came to the UAE rally fresh from an impressive 10th place in the Paris-Dakar rally, winning all but one of the 12 special stages in Abu Dhabi. Al Qasimi was 3 minutes behind, impressive considering that he had not fully recovered from a broken vertebra sustained in the final rally last year in Dubai. Third was Jordanian Amjad Farah, a further 7 minutes and 10 seconds behind. Al Attiyah will race a production car in the World Rally Championships in Sweden, and then he'll take part in the Mexican Rally in March, so he'll miss the second round of the Middle East Championships in Bahrain. The fifth round of the World Indoor Trials Championship moved to France, where 6,500 fans watched riders negotiate 6 observed sections and a double-lane race. Japan's Takahisa Fujinami, who won his first indoor event 2 weeks ago, was unable to keep up with the others despite qualifying in second place. He scored too many fives, which left him with 17 points and out of a place on the podium. Albert Cabestany of Spain qualified first for the final with the best opening lap score of just 6 penalties, ahead of Fujinami, Dougie Lamkin and Adam Raga. He came second in round 4 in Germany, but he had to settle for third in France. The Spaniard briefly held the lead, but section 5 let him down and ended in a tie. Lamkin, who was trying to forget his disastrous result in Koblenz when he failed to make the final, took an early advantage in the opening section, ending with 11 penalties, the same as Cabestany. The rules say that in the case of a tie, riders must do one section again. It was Lamkin who held his nerve the better, as he has done so often in the past, to claim second place from Cabestany. Raga, who started his impressive string of victories with success in Marseille last year, showed early nerves on the opening lap, but took command in the final after Cabestany's slip on section 5. The Spaniard overcame 7 technical and physically demanding sections to emerge victorious with 10 penalties, winning by a single point. He has 44 points in the World Indoor Trials Championship standings and holds a 4-point lead over Lamkin. Raga, the defending World Indoor Champion, secured his second win of the season. Fujinami remains in third place with 32 points, while Cabestany is in fourth on 26. Round 6 of the 12-event series takes place in Barcelona in Spain. And in Barcelona, the round of new car launches by Formula One teams continued, and BAR Honda believe they can challenge the top teams with their new 006 model. Last season, 24-year-old Englishman Jenson Button claimed 2 fourth places and came 9th in the overall drivers' standings. He's been promoted to team leader after consistently outperforming Jacques Villeneuve, and the expensive former world champion was unceremoniously dumped by the team before the end of the year. In a pre-season test session just after the launch, Button claimed a lap record when he shaved almost a full second off the Spanish track's benchmark time, which he'd set last month. The Brit clocked a 1 minute 13, 8.67 seconds during his 27 laps. Speaking about his flying lap, he said, "It was a good lap, but there's a lot more to come." Second place went to Williams test driver Marc Gené, whose best time was 1.435 seconds off Button's pace. Gené was initially quicker than Button's teammate Takuma Sato, but the Japanese driver eventually went to the top of the timesheets. Engineering improvements in last year's car enabled the team to move from 8th to 5th place in the championship, making them the season's most improved team.
We're still not completely sure about the new car. I've only done a few laps, but it was promising, and the main thing is it's very stable, which is a good starting point for a new car.
While he knows that every driver wants to be world champion, he hopes the car will give him his first podium as the team try to improve in the Constructors' title.
As a driver, it doesn't really make much difference where you finish in the championship, either 7th or 5th or 3rd. You know, you want to win. You want to win the championship. So it's more for the team. I think for us to be 4th on the championship would be good step forward, and also challenging the top 3 teams.
Button's teammate Sato made his race debut for the team in Japan at the end of last season, having been dropped by Jordan. The 27-year-old from Tokyo is following in the footsteps of one of his heroes, Brazilian legend Ayrton Senna.
I feel very proud, to be honest, because I graduated Honda Racing School in 1997, and suddenly I felt in the last 2 years working with them properly on the Formula One, it's a very exciting thing. Especially I was cheering in front of a tele when I was a little boy, you know, when Honda dominating with Senna and the Formula One and everything. So, you know, if we can do, you know, again with, you know, with this time, I think that's the most exciting thing.
But testing, while important, doesn't score points. Button and Sato, who obviously respect each other and get on well, will know more after the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne on March the 7th. Jaguar Racing have also launched their 2004 Challenger, the R5, at the Catalunya circuit in Barcelona. Drivers Australian Mark Webber and new signing Christian Klein of Austria proudly unveiled the evolutionary contender that aims to build upon last year's car, the R4. The new car was straight-line tested before the launch at Ford's proving ground in Lommel in Belgium. Jaguar Racing was created by 3-time world champion Sir Jackie Stewart and sold to his longtime partner Ford in 1999. Webber joined Jaguar in 2003 and impressed many with his ability, especially during qualifying. He finished the year 10th on 17 points, the same as Jenson Button.
With the R5, we've worked heavily on trying to help the race pace. Clearly, we have made some good steps over the course of the season last year, but also so have other people. So, you know, you're trying to hit a moving target, and it is difficult to look good when the opposition is also very, very strong. So we're up for the challenge, and that's clearly something we're trying to work on for 2004.
Rookie Klein had never driven a Formula One car before a test session late last year, but he got the seat ahead of American Townsend Bell. Webber is backing his new teammate to last the season. Young drivers at Jaguar have a poor record of lasting the distance. Luciano Berti was dropped after just 4 races in 2001, while Antonio Pizzonia and Justin Wilson failed to hold on to their seats.
From Formula 3 to Formula 1, it went quite quickly, and now I'm here. I'm very happy to get in Formula 1 and can drive with Jaguar Racing.
The team's management is under no illusions about the need to improve Jaguar's lower midfield reputation and get to terms with the front runners.
I think the measure at the end of the day has to be our performance on the track. We have 2 very accomplished drivers with us. Obviously, one is new to Formula 1 and is learning all the time, but Mark, with his ability, we're hoping for good things.
Some good things for Jaguar would make a nice change. The team has failed to live up to expectations, seen several changes of drivers and an embarrassing aerodynamic mistake which required a major mid-season rebuild of the 2002 car. And Jaguar didn't have the best of times during their first test program with the new car. The team claimed the bottom 2 slots on the timesheets, finishing 4 seconds off the pace. Christian Klein was behind the wheel of the R5 and completed just 41 laps. But his teammate Mark Webber's day was even worse. He crashed with suspension failure on last year's car, completing only 10 laps. Klein's second day saw an improvement as he shaved 1.7 seconds off his best time, but was still 2.5 seconds off the pace. On the last day, Klein was again behind the wheel of the new R5 and completed another 45 laps, but things were worse. His best time for the day was 3.4 seconds off the pace. And the supreme embarrassment was that at the launch, Webber was able to complete just 1 lap before gearbox failure halted his demonstration run. Renault launched their new car in front of 650 assembled media and guests at Palermo's prestigious opera house, the Teatro Massimo, in Sicily. After last year's impressive 4th place finish in the constructors' standings, Renault hope the new R24 will help them challenge the dominance of the big 3, Williams, McLaren and Ferrari. The ceremony had a pan-European feel with the 2 main drivers, Fernando Alonso of Spain and Italy's Jarno Trulli, joining the French chairman of Renault, Patrick Faure, and Italian team director Flavio Briatore. Alonso, who remains at the team with Trulli, became the youngest winner in Formula One history at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where he also lapped Ferrari's world champion Michael Schumacher. This was the team's first win since they returned to the sport in 2002 after a 17-year absence. But they're still some way off breaking into the top 3, ending the season with 5 podium finishes in 16 races and 88 points compared to McLaren's 142, Williams' 144 and Ferrari's 158. Trulli said the team was hoping to progress from the 4th place they achieved in 2003.
Well, everything will be important for the team this season. We are there to try to beat the best team. We know that we got a good potential. Last year we've done very well, and we will try to do our best to improve last year's result. Obviously, it's not going to be easy because we are facing, high-profile team like Ferrari, McLaren, Williams, very high experience with high potential. But we are confident that we can do it.
After the launch, the cars were driven around the ancient streets in a noisy display of power. Jarno Trulli doesn't usually make predictions about the outcome of a season because it can leave a driver looking pretty silly. However, the Italian has said that he is feeling optimistic about Renault's chances this season. The new car is a development of last year's R23, and he said he felt confident in the car from the first few hundred meters. For him, the driving position is ideal, and after 2 years at Renault, he feels at home in the car. Fernando likes it too, because it's similar to the car that gave him his first pole position and first victory last year.
The new car is always a good experience for the drivers. We tested in Barcelona with a very good result. The time is difficult to know if it's good or not because the circuit changes and the times change as well. But we are really optimistic. We had no problems at all with the new car, and everything is going quite good at the moment.
Alonso was fastest of 15 drivers testing at Barcelona. The French team says the first 3 races might be difficult, but in the second half of the year, their engine will be more powerful. Alonso was also aware that the new rules would make life harder for everyone.
Difficult to know now in winter, but 1 engine per weekend will be a tough situation for the teams.
But Fernando stalled and the Sicilian crowd decided they wanted a closer look and descended on the car. Fearing the Renault was about to be plundered, Italian police had to protect it. Lastly, world champion Ferrari drivers Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello and test driver Luca Badoer revealed their new car for the upcoming season. The F2004 features new aerodynamic modelling and a more powerful and resilient engine. Will their 50th single-seater built to compete in Formula One be good enough for a 6th consecutive constructors' title?
Indeed, our car looks very similar to last year's car, which wasn't a bad car, I think. So we'll have to find out how it's positioned itself against the others, which we'll obviously and honestly see in Melbourne at the first race. All the winter sort of testing, I'm not sure it gives a clear indication what's the situation.
There are no major surprises on the new machine. It looks very similar to last year's model, with the exception of a higher airbox and a larger rear wing in accordance with new regulations. And at its heart is a new Ferrari V10 engine. The team claims it's the best Ferrari ever built, and Michael put it into perspective.
Honestly, you never find the maximum potential because any car at any time can be developed further if you give it more time. But I'm pretty confident that what we will have at the first race will be highly competitive and reliable.
Rubens denied the new design would give Williams any advantage and was confident that Ferrari can deliver another title.
From all I gather in this room, there is a feeling that Williams are stronger because they have a different nose, but that does not make sense. Our car is 99% different in terms of construction, aerodynamics, and everything else we saw. It is much improved, very beautiful, mostly at the back, where the aerodynamics count a lot. I can't wait to drive it.
Ferrari have not started a season with a new car since 2001, preferring to hold off until the first European race. But team bosses said at the launch of the F2004 that they had decided to run it from the first race in Australia. Britain's 14th Autosport International show drew more than 800 exhibitors, reflecting a growing interest in anything with a motor, from stock cars to Formula One. The show attracts about 90,000 visitors and kickstarts the motorsport season in an industry which in the UK alone is worth an estimated £52 billion.
The show is at the start of the year. And the reason why we have so many people coming in here is because they have to set up a lot of their contracts, which is why we have a lot of trade people coming. It's where they set up the sponsorship packages for the rest of their year if they're involved in the motorsport team, or if they're doing deals for suppliers. It always starts at the beginning of the year, and so the show is the starting point, and that's where they get all the business done. So that's why we have about £400 million worth of business done as a result of the show, which makes it a vital part of the motorsport calendar.
This year's event included a new Ferrari exhibition, which attracted car enthusiasts and serious buyers from all over the world. Some of Ferrari's remaining historic races were on display from the factory museum, such as Alain Prost's Formula One, as well as from private collections. The cars on display weren't only racers, but also some of the more exotic road cars from past and present.
What we're doing at the show this year is obviously to bring 2 brand new features to the show so we get people coming through. And we've got a Galleria Ferrari feature, which is bringing 18 of the world's most significant Ferraris from across the world. Some of them outside Italy that have never been seen before. And what we're finding is that we're getting people travelling from all over the world, specifically, certainly Italy and the close European countries, coming to the show just to see these features, which are some astounding cars that are worth £25 million just on their own.
With a year-on-year growth of 10%, the size and success of Autosport International illustrates the British fascination with motorsport. A major attraction at the world's largest motor racing fair is ProDrive's stand, one of the top automotive sporting technology companies. The company works on advanced automotive technology for racing cars and develops new technology for road cars all over the world. ProDrive has operations around the globe, including Australia, North America and Thailand, and employs around 1,000 people and has an annual turnover of about £100 million.
Great Britain is the heart of the world's motorsport industry, so this is like their trade show. So for us as the world's #1 motorsport company, in the heart of the world's motorsport industry, and this being the #1 show, we have to be here. We do a lot of business with clients. We actually do sell some cars, not straight off the stand clearly, but these cars are quite expensive. And a lot of it is getting to meet people within the industry. It's a real meeting point that once a year, before the competition season starts, that everyone gets together and celebrates the British motorsport industry.
For road cars, ProDrive have designed models for Opel, Ford and Subaru. They also make body styling, trim, suspension and wheel and brake packages.
In Britain, we just happens that we're particularly good at designing and building cars. We're very good at making motorsport cars. Maybe it's the British mentality, but we're good at building cars that maybe only need to last for a short time. Maybe the Germans are very good at building cars that last forever, but we're very good at building cars very fast that beat the world.
This year will be a busy one. As well as running the BAR Formula One team and trying to win the World Rally Championships, the company is working to get Aston Martin back into sports car racing at Le Mans next year. For 15 years, the late Miguel de Runcorn collected model cars and engines from around the world. It's one of the world's most impressive displays ever to come onto the market, and the entire collection was auctioned in London recently.
I think it's true to say that Miguel was generally regarded amongst the collectors in this field as one hell of a nice man, and was always willing to share his expertise and his thrill of collecting with everybody else. So all the other collectors warmed to him deeply, and I think it's a very emotional day for a lot of people.
The sale generated huge interest, and collectors from around the globe examined over 1,000 model aero, automobile, marine and stationary engines. Among the standalone engines is this rare French Godefroy inverted V-twin spark ignition aero engine from about 1910. The oldest on sale, this famous engine made the first ever powered model aircraft flight in Europe, covering 471 metres. Of the 350 lots, all but one was sold, raising about 400,000 British pounds.
One has to remember that collectors are passionate about their subject, and there are a lot of engines here that are very rare, some which are unique, and the true collector wants to have a slice of the action, as you might say.
Miguel was Director General of one of the leading glass manufacturers at the time of his death in March last year. While travelling the world on business, he found models in many countries over many years.
It's an opportunity for these as older collectors and the young. It's a great opportunity to them to get started, and for those who have great collections to start infilling their collections and building their collections up and making them even bigger than they already are.
Despite the collection being one of the best in the world, its breakup was not seen as a bad thing, as Miguel preserved many items that might otherwise have been lost. Finally, police and security forces now have an effective and convenient way to halt runaway cars and stop vehicles being used for nefarious purposes. It's called XNet, a spiked web that punctures the tyres and wraps itself around the wheels of a suspect vehicle, bringing it safely to a stop. Unlike with conventional road spikes, if you try to drive away on flat tyres, it only draws the net tighter. It was developed by a British government military research company.
The XNet can be deployed from the side of the road. It can be pulled across in front of a target vehicle. The XNet is made out of a very strong material called Dyneema that has a row of spikes on the leading edge. The vehicle runs across those spikes. The net actually gets tangled around the front wheels, and it brings that vehicle to a safe stop.
Easy to lay and to remove, the XNet is a convenient alternative to the heavy concrete blocks often used to protect buildings from attack.
It does also be used for denying access to certain areas, to buildings, or if a VIP or if a high-value load was being moved, then XNets could be used to actually prevent vehicles moving into that certain vicinity.
With the increased threat of car and truck bombs, it's not surprising the XNet is already generating interest from police forces around the world. So, whether you're going up and over, building a world beater, or smoking up a storm, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.